Sure, just a minute.
Sure. And Max, we'll be recording the session as well as we'll be hosting it on YouTube for our future consumption.
Awesome.
Okay, all set, children.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Akshita. So, okay, let's get started then. The DD arrives. Sure. So, first of all, a warm welcome to everyone who has joined in and tuned in for the session. So, Creators of Products is a volunteer-driven community of 6,000 plus professionals who build and manage products. Our members belong to a diverse set of roles such as product managers, founders, CXOs, designers, consultants, aspiring creators, students, etc. And they come from different domains. Please join us at creatorsofproducts.slack.com, where all the action happens if you have already not done so. And super excited today to host Max on the Creators of Products platform. So Max is a social and entrepreneur and a community builder that helps non-techies and creators build websites, apps, softwares without code. He runs the 100 Days of No Code community, which helps beginners leverage the power of no code by facilitating connections between like-minded learners and delivering courses and workshops. Max, thank you so much for taking out the time to have a session for our no-code enthusiasts of Creators of Products community. Yeah, trust me, every single time we have discussed on conducting an event on no-code, it was you who came to our mind, and hence we tried reaching out to you. Now I would like to hand over the session to you, and we'll be all ears. Over to you, Max.
Thanks so much. It's awesome to be here, and yeah, thanks everyone for dropping by, especially on a weekend. Yeah, really excited to be here. So I guess I'll kind of just get into it, and I guess the first thing I'll do is share my screen. So give me 2 secs. Can I? Would you mind giving me access to share my screen? I think I need permission. So,
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Please check now.
I'll try again. There we go. Perfect. All good. All right. So share. Okay. Just getting these guys up. Okay. Can you see that? Yeah. All good. Okay. Good stuff. All right. Let's get into it. So in this workshop, we're going to be running through how you can get started in no code. You may have heard about it. It may have piqued your interest. But I guess the next question is, how do you actually move forward? How do you actually start leveraging this emerging space, this emerging technology? So what we're going to be doing is quickly running over what no code is, some use cases for no code, some case studies of people actually using this tech, and of course how you can get started yourself. Before we do that, a bit on me and I guess why I'm giving this presentation. So as the introduction gave me, essentially I run 100 Days of No Code, which is an online community helping people build cool things and bring their ideas to life with no code. And then I also run Hive, which is a tool to help communities run and scale their masterminds. So that's kind of a little bit about me, and my DMs are always open, so feel free to drop me a message if you ever want to. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this. What is no code? What does it actually mean? So no code, otherwise known as visual development or point and click programming, it really could mean anything. For example, I can write in my notebook without code, I can play tennis without code, I can go for a walk without code. And this is why I love this tweet by Lacey Kessler, who rightly calls out the difference between saying I make things without code versus saying I make something without writing code. The key word here being writing. So what we really mean by no code is a set of tools that give us the power of code without actually having to write it. So this means we can build advanced software visually instead of textually, instead of using syntax, allowing us to create websites, apps, chatbots, databases, automations, and more without writing any code. And admittedly, this sounds a little bit too good to be true, but it really isn't. So this is Sam here in this slide. Not the picture. That is not Sam in the picture, but Sam on Twitter, who is part of the 100 Days community, who felt like he had superpowers after learning a no-code tool called Bubble. But first, I think it's important to just quickly touch on the background to this movement and where it has sprung up from. So to clarify the difference between the textual and visual communication to computers, I guess traditionally, in order to speak to computers, in order to get computers to do what we wanted them to do, you'd have to speak the language that machines understood, that being computer code, that being written. But now, thanks to no code, we can communicate with computers with logic and visually. So as you see here on the left, this started in the 90s with programs like Dreamweaver and Visual Basic that gave us what's called graphical user interfaces. Then in the late 2000s, software like Wix and Squarespace, which you're probably more familiar with, started cropping up. Before then, today, we have tools like Zapier, Bubble, and Webflow that allow us to create even more powerful applications without having to write any code. And to reiterate, no code means you're still talking to a computer, you're just doing it in a different way. So, and when we say no code, that doesn't actually mean that there's no code involved. In fact, the tools we're using, like Bubble and Zapier, are all built on code. It's just that this code is hidden below the surface, and that makes the pre-built components that we can simply drag and drop onto our pages. So if you see here on the left, APIs, frameworks and libraries, basic code is hidden away from us. And we are dealing with this thing on the surface called no code. So it's been extracted away to the point where we can do this without actually needing code. And this has allowed us, as you see on the right here, to be moving and to be using these pre-built components, which we can then drag and drop onto our screens, our graphical user interfaces. So to make this a little more tangible, we can compare no code to what we're all probably quite familiar with, that being Lego. So with these tools, you can build things visually online, just as you would build something from your imagination with Lego blocks. So as mentioned before, these tools all come with pre-built components that you can simply drag and drop onto the screen. And these can be equivalent to Lego blocks, and would be things like text buttons, maps, login flows, and input fields where we want to collect data from our users. It is your job as the no-coder to stack these different pre-built components together in a functional and usable way, just like you would with Lego blocks. So this analogy kind of works on a macro and a micro scale. And what I mean by that is, from a macro point of view, in order to, say, for example, build a membership site using Webflow, you need to be able to connect with other tools like MemberStack, like Airtable and Zapier, which you could also call Lego blocks in themselves. But then on a micro level, you also have this effect of Lego blocks within the tools themselves, and those being the pre-built components that we mentioned before. So you see here in Funkable, they really take this whole Lego vibe to the next level, and it is literally just like you're building Lego in the app. by kind of configuring your flows and your interface with these different blocks that they give you. We can also compare no code to Ikea. So whenever we buy something from Ikea, whether that's a desk or a wardrobe or bathroom fitting, we still have to assemble those pieces to that thing together, which is like entering a no-code tool and you see a list of these pre-built components that you can choose from to build the thing that you want to build. And although you won't have as much power or customization as you would have if you were building something from scratch with code, just like Ikea, you're not going to find a more accessible, cost-effective, or faster way than using no code. So just bear that in mind. It's a quicker and easier way to build things and to bring your ideas to life. So I'm sure I don't really need to have this slide because the fact you're here suggests that you're already reasonably excited, but if it needs to be stated again, I wanted to just run through a couple of reasons why you should be excited by this space. So I look at it from two angles, that being you can now not only solve your own problems, but you can also solve other people's problems with no code. So whether that is actually learning this skill and actually becoming a visual developer, to actually making money from this space, or it's actually building your own side projects to take away really manual, boring tasks that you have on your plate every week, or you want to build like a custom to-do list app that is only right for you, you can solve your own problems now far easier than you would have been able to. You don't need to always go for that cookie cutter software that doesn't quite fit you. And in fact, you can now just build your own thing. But then you can also build things for other people, that being side projects, startups, and anything in between. So let's just kind of bring this into a little bit more specificity. So what can you actually be building? And there are a range of things, and this slide only touches the surface of what you can start building with no-code tools, but here are a few good ones to get started with. So you can build e-products. So you may have seen on Notion, all these Notion templates being sold on Gumroad. You've got newsletters that you can start charging people for, whether that's on Substack or putting a Stripe payment in front of your newsletter subscription, whether that's a marketplace that you want to build, micro SaaS businesses, which is really popular now in the space, just simple directories where you have a list of things, a curated list on a particular topic. So last week, a guy in the 100 Days community built a list of the biggest list of mental health resources for founders and entrepreneurs. And that was just a simple list that he built in Software, launched in Product Hunt, and that was all done in the space of a day. Mobile apps, of course, and then communities, which we're all part of here today, whether that's Creator of Products or 100 Days of No Code. And then you have some more internal, boring use cases, but definitely important ones. And this may be important in your life as a product manager, where you'll be wanting to take some work off your plate, some manual tasks off your plate. And that can look like tasks from sharing files to signing contracts to collaborating more easily on projects, invoicing, automating that, drip campaigns, collecting research and data via scraping tools, and more. So now I kind of wanted to get into some case studies. So you're kind of, you now know what we mean by no code. You have a good idea of what can be made with no code. You're now probably thinking, well, actually show me some examples, some real life case studies of this in action. Because it's all good talking about how amazing this space is, but it's no good if there's no examples to actually back it up. So firstly, I guess the lowest hanging fruit here is 100 days of no code, and I can quickly show you what I've built with that. So I use a platform called Softer, and it does a lot of things for me in this platform. So I've got a members portal, I've got a knowledge library for all the content that my members can access. I've got a learning management system in there, and I've got gated content, so only particular tiers of membership can see particular pieces of content. So I just wanted to actually show you this in action. So I'm just going to swap tabs on my laptop to show you this in action. Can you see that tab that I've just gone onto? Is that okay? Cool. So this is the home page for 100 Days of No Code. As you can see, this is the landing page, and this is all in Softer. But what I want to do is just kind of log in and show you a little bit under the bonnet, so you can kind of get a feel for what is going on in there once we log in. So let's do that now while we're here. So let's just log in. Okay, so okay, so we're in. So when you come into the website, you'll see our learning lab, which is kind of a collection of resources to help people learn to no code. Now, this again is all built in Softer, and if we go into Explore, I'll quickly show you our beginners course. And this again is the learning management system or component within Softer that we've built. So if you come into here, you can see the different modules that we have for this course, etc., which is, yeah, all built in the same tool. But you're probably wondering how that is actually been configured. So let me quickly jump into Softer to show you what it looks like behind the scenes, just to give you a feel for how easy it was to make this. So let's just Softer.io. I'll just quickly jump to that. And Softer, I'm sure some of you've already used it before, but it's a good platform to build very quick prototypes on. And as you'll see, it does have a lot of flexibility in what you can create with it. So now I'm just kind of getting under the hood of 100 Days of No Code. So firstly, you'll see that we've got 5 different headers, and you're probably wondering why have we got 5 different headers? Well, each header is different according to whether that member is logged in or not, and also what membership tier they have. So for this header here, if we click on it, you'll see that if we go into visibility settings, this should only be seen by non-logged in users. And that is the one you saw when I was on the landing page. If we jump into here though, where it's got the portal and the journal, this should only be seen by logged in users. So it's as simple as that to kind of change the visibility according to the status of your users. And then if we kind of go into here in visibility, we can also see that this is hidden or changed for a particular group. So that is kind of one thing that we've got going on in the website. Let me scroll down as well to show you some more things we've got in here that may be of interest. So this is a good example of some data that we have essentially pulled onto the front end of Softer. What you're looking at here is data that's not in Softer, is actually in Airtable. And all we've done is connect our Airtable base, which is called 100 Days Case Studies, and the table 1 to Softer, and it has simply pulled in this data. And you can do that by just clicking on the different types of data that you want to come into this space. So if we flick image off, that will take the images away. But if we pop that on, it's recognizing that I've pulled that toggle on and will pull in those images from Airtable. So that is just a quick example of what I've got going on in 100 days of no code. So hopefully that was kind of just useful to get a feel for how easy it is to make something that would originally appear quite complex. So moving on, I wanted to kind of just delve into a couple of other case studies before I get into how we can actually start using these tools. And if you've got any questions at this point in time, yeah, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll try and kind of get to them. But yeah, we can plow on from here. So some other really useful case studies to look at are these two, which were made by the 100 Days of No Code community. And these are 4 social impact projects. So what we've got here, the first one is a project called Missing Black People. Now, this was a directory built on Softer and Airtable. It took 1 hour to build, and he simply posted the link to it, and it went viral within an hour of him posting it. It also has had a lot of impact in the UK because we do these things called petitions, and 20,000 people have signed a petition to amplify the search for missing Black people in the UK off the back of this one site. So this just gives you a context of how quickly you can go from idea to execution and impact with no-code tools. Secondly, we've got another one that you may be more familiar with, which is Vensi Krishna's mobile app that she built in Glide in response to the obviously COVID-19 outbreak in India. This took her even shorter amount of time to build because she had the data already. She plugged that into Glide, and within a month she had 400,000 users. So this again is just a use case to show you how no code can be used in emergency response, which is, you know, it's so exciting to me and so powerful and life-changing, life-saving for so many people. Then we can look at a project that kind of comes under the for-profit sphere, and this is Community Copilot by Kieran Ball. So this is a micro SaaS that has been built in Bubble, and he is getting a decent chunk of recurring revenue each month, and it essentially is a tool that connects or integrates with Slack communities and allows you to kind of analyze the most engaged members and the least engaged members. And from this information as a community manager, you can then start helping those members that are falling off or are least engaging that month. And this is, again, solving a very specific problem that he's found. And this is something you can do too with another micro SaaS business. And then I also lastly like to kind of touch on the 4 fun projects. So these are just things you can build with no code that are purely for fun. that you can use as an outlet for some of the weird, wonderful, crazy ideas that you've just got sitting around in your head. And I think these two are quite good embodiments of that. So you've probably seen them around. They have a lot of viral projects going on, but Ash and Wit, the founders of Bad Unicorn, which is a product studio, built Elon stocks. So every time Elon Musk tweets about a stock, you can get a text message notifying you about that. Now, this is a super simple project. It was built with Zapier and Twilio to connect with your mobile phones. And within a month of launching, they were actually up to £500 worth of recurring revenue, which is insane. They had no intention of doing that, but actually a fun project can very quickly spiral into a money generating one too. And they're inspiring as well for another reason, because they drop a new idea every 2 weeks with no-code tools. So this is just a good lesson or good inspiration for you guys to say, yeah, it is possible to build something every 2 weeks with no-code tools. I mean, that may be a little extreme, but it's definitely possible. And then what we have here is a rebuild of the game Civilization within Webflow. And that was done by Sacco, who's a Webflow genius. It was the largest ever Webflow project. And he, essentially rebuilt the whole game in Webflow, which is remarkable. I have no words. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. Okay, so now we can move into probably the bit that is most interesting for you guys, and that is answering the question of how you can get started in this space. And the first thing I always say is start with your why. It may feel a little bit wishy-washy. It may feel a bit kind of vague, but I think this is crucial to underpin and to anchor anything else you do in the space. So ask yourself why you want to learn this skill. Is it because you have a very specific idea, a very specific project, or is it you're just generally curious and you want to build a no-code skill set generally? Or do you want to become a no-code freelancer? The answers that you have to these questions will have big implications on what tools you start to learn with and your path in the no-code space. So I'd highly recommend just sitting down and pondering this thought and using Simon Sinek's Golden Circle framework to go through this exercise yourself. Secondly, the next thing that I recommend you doing is picking your toolkit. Now, this may seem, well, this is definitely easier said than done, because as you can see here, there are, huge amounts of tools, far too many to actually make a quick and easy decision from. So this is why I think understanding your why is so important. So for instance, if your why is you want to build a mobile app with or just a mobile app that does XYZ, you've instantly channeled your tool selection by now only focusing on these groupings of tools, whereas before you may have been stranded and had to pick from 100, but now you're only picking from 10. So, but this is easier said than done, and it can often feel like you're a kid in a candy shop, and you just don't know which sweets to actually pick. So to make this a little less overwhelming, I have a free kind of guiding principles for you to just take away. So don't put too much pressure on yourselves actually picking the right tool or the right stack of tools, because there isn't one. There is no perfect stack of tools. And what you'll often find is the stack that you start with will change later on in your journey. So it's more important to get started with a tool or a set of tools rather than not getting started with any and trying to wait for the perfect stack to come along, because it won't. So just be at peace with the fact that it's going to change. So for me, when I started, I went all in on Bubble and Card, but now I generally use these tools because it fits my use case better. And also just bear in mind that the skills you learn from one tool to the next will be transferable. So don't worry if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to invest all this time in one tool, but then it will be wasted if it's not the right tool. I wouldn't think in that way. I'd actually say that investing time in one tool will always be beneficial to learning another tool, because you'll pick up stuff like database design, UI, UX, and other considerations whenever you're building a product, no matter what tool you're using. And then lastly, I would just say some of the tools that you pick will feel more intuitive than others. So some people who are more visually orientated in their learning will pick up tools faster than other people who may prefer other things when they're learning. So some tools will just fit you better. So don't worry if you see a trend of other people using one tool and actually you find this other tool actually easier to use, and that just may be a better fit for you. So this slide is basically all to say, take the pressure of picking the stack or the best stack, because there isn't one. But if you're still not sure which toolkit or which stack to get started with, these are the ones I recommend you get started with. So if you're still paralyzed, you're still like, oh my gosh, I can't move forward, these are the ones I think you should get started with. And the reasoning behind that is because it will give you a really versatile toolkit that actually integrates very well with each other. So what you've got here on the left, you've got Glide, which is a mobile app builder. You've got Notion for productivity. You've got Softer for simple web apps. You've got Airtable for databases, and you've got Zapier for automation. Now, all these tools integrate with each other, especially Softer and Airtable and Zapier, and Glide and Zapier, and then Notion can connect with all of them. So it's actually a really nice integrated stack that is actually quite easy, quite beginner friendly to get started with. So if you can't make up your mind, start with these 5 tools. Cool. But now you're probably thinking, okay, so you've given me some tools, but now how the hell do I actually get started in them? Now there's always going to be a research phase in a tool where you'll want to learn the terminology, the jargon, get familiar with the interface and some key concepts. But once you've grasped that initial phase, then you can start building projects and you can start optimizing for creation over consumption. And a few sort of project ideas I'd recommend you getting started with include directories, landing pages, the classic to-do list app, job boards, and chatbots. These are really nice ones to get started with. And yeah, they may not be all conquering projects that you can shout from the rooftops about, but actually they will give you some confidence to move forward and then work on progressively harder projects as you build up your confidence and your skill set in these tools. And then lastly, so now you've understood your why you're in this space. You've picked a set of tools that you're going to get started with. Now, the last piece in the puzzle, I always say, is actually joining a community to give you the accountability and momentum to actually seeing your no-code learning journey through. And there's a few reasons why you should join one, which I'll quickly run through. The first being accountability. So let me just, the first being accountability. Learning any new skill, as everyone here will know, is tough. So you need others to kind of keep you in check and push you forward. Secondly, shared knowledge is crucial. You could go in your own lane and learn alone, but if you're with or within a good community, others will be able to share tips, tricks, resources, and time with you that you would never have been able to access without those other people. Thirdly, I'd say collaboration. 70% of no coders intend to use these tools to build a business. This means being part of a no-code community will not only give you access to people that are learning the same skill, which is useful in and of itself, but also other entrepreneurs like you. So having access to those people will open up opportunities for collaborations, founding partnerships, etc. So this just moves me on to one of those communities that happens to be 100 days of no code, which I'll kind of just quickly summarize before we wrap up for questions. So if you are interested in joining a community, this is one of the many options. And this won't be right for everyone, but it's just one option that you can pick from. But all I'd say is just make sure you join a community, and it doesn't have to be 100 days of no code. But essentially 100 days is an online community that will connect you with the people, the content, and then the habit fueled system to build great things all within 100 days. And the system looks like this. It's a very simple but powerful formula, that being publicly committing so you can't back out, learning for 30 minutes every day for 100 days, which allows you to work on this skill around your busy schedule. 100 days itself sounds really scary, but actually all I'm asking is 30 minutes a day for 100 days, which is just 2 days in total of learning over those 100 days. So actually, when you think about it like that, it's a really minimal investment, and it will keep you going, keep you ticking, and each day will compound on top of the next. And then lastly, we get you to share your learning on Twitter or wherever, and that allows you to open up a feedback loop from other people. You'll be able to ingrain your learning by sharing it with others. And it's just a nice way to build your audience and get other people on your journey. Secondly, the content piece, we're beginner orientated, and we make sure we help you out to learn this stuff with workshops, member-led events, and our learning lab, which includes a beginner course. And then lastly, of course, is the community piece in this puzzle, which involves a Slack group where you can ask any questions you have when you get stuck, a weekly mastermind or accountability group with others learning the same skill, one-on-one virtual coffees, and demo days where you get the chance to kind of push out that project that you've been working on over those 100 days. So that is me. Please feel free to reach out with me after this workshop. These are my kind of details. And yeah, really happy to kind of answer any questions that you guys have from this presentation or on anything else. But really can't wait to see what you guys build with no code.
I think fantastic session, Max. It was I think it will serve as a good guiding light to many no-code enthusiasts and a good starting point. That's what we were looking for. Now, quickly moving on to the Q&A section. I think We have some questions, and if the requester can please unmute themselves and ask their query, it will be very helpful. So I can see the first question from Pooja. Pooja, if you can unmute yourself and ask your query, please. Okay, I think I'm not sure. Okay, so what the query is, Max, is that she wants to understand what is a microsas and what's a drip campaign, as you mentioned in your slide. So I think she wants to know more about those terminologies.
Sure, of course. Yeah, it's funny because being in the kind of tech bubble, we're so used to kind of swinging about these terms. But actually, like if I said that to my mum and dad, it would be like, "What are you on about?" So yeah, that's completely a great question. So microsas is so SaaS stands for software as a service. And it's essentially something like HubSpot or other software products that you use, but on a really micro scale. So it's serving a very niche problem. And it's something that you can build as software or a web app that basically serves a specific set of people and a very specific problem. And that's why it's kind of got micro in front of it. As the key there. And then a drip campaign is essentially an email sequence that you can set so that emails are only go every day or every week at a time, as opposed to sending out all that content at the same time. So you may have a 10-day onboarding sequence whereby someone that joins your community gets an email for the first 10 days of their arrival into the community, as opposed to getting all that content on the first day.
Okay, I hope, Pooja, your query is answered. Just moving on to the next. Okay, perfect. So moving on to the next query from Riddhi. Riddhi, if you can unmute yourself and ask your query, please. I'm not sure, Riddhi, if we can hear you, but if you're trying to speak, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, fine. I think, could you show us how to navigate tools on Product Hunt? I'm not sure if Max, I could not figure on what was asked. So we'll move on to the next query. Harpreet, if you would like to unmute yourself and ask your query, please.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask Max that when we scale up in our product journey, how does no code supports?
And that is basically kind of helping you, just to clarify the question, so you're kind of wanting to understand where no code comes into play when you're trying to level up your product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Got you. So I'll be the first to admit, like my knowledge of product is definitely not up there with you guys. So I can't probably answer it specifically, but what I often see with product managers in the 100 days of no code community is that they learn one or two things. So firstly, they learn the ability to build rapid prototypes for their ideas. So this lets them essentially test the ideas they have quicker than if they were to actually hand that idea over to their software team. So what they can do is kind of rapidly go through more ideas and validate the best ones through making them in prototype form themselves, versus waiting on other kind of teams within their company that they're working at. And then the second part where I see product managers learning this skill is in automation, and essentially like cutting in half their manual workload that they have on a weekly basis. So I think that will then open up time for you to work on bigger picture strategy stuff versus manual menial tasks that you shouldn't really be doing as much as you are. So hopefully that gives some insight into that answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. I think one more query we have from the next query we have from Riddhi. Riddhi, if you can unmute yourself and ask your query. I think, yeah, okay. I think she wants to understand a bit more on software.io, if it is a website building like platform, no code platform.
Sure, of course. So software is a few things in one, and I think as you can see from my 100 days use case, you can use it as a landing page builder, which essentially serves as a landing page, simple website that you can collect emails through. But then you can also layer that up with gated content, so it can become like a membership site. So users can log in, log out, and then content within or behind that login flow can be hidden according to which tier, which membership tier members are on. So you can gate content then. And then, you can essentially create mini like web apps or simple web apps with Softer, such as internal employee portals, membership sites, and directories. So that kind of gives you hopefully a feel for what you can do in Softer. I've just seen a question. So can you compare Bubble and Softer? What are the pros and cons? What are the pros and cons? Essentially, if you're the pattern I keep seeing with Softer and Bubble is people validate their idea in Softer, so they build a super simple, the most stripped back version of their idea in Softer, build that prototype, get some early users, validate, and then once they're more sure that they should be putting in that time investment, they make that fully formed, fully fleshed out version in Bubble. So that's kind of the flow I'm seeing. But in terms of the pros and cons, you'll just take a lot longer building that MVP in Bubble than you would be in Softer. But your MVP may only be buildable in Bubble, and therefore you need to use Bubble, and you just have to accept that extra time cost. But on the whole, most ideas can be boiled down to tiny ideas that can probably be built in Softer. So that would be my super high level like analysis of the two. But I would basically check out Softer, see if you can do it in there. If you can't, then move to Bubble or another platform. But it's all dependent on that idea that you have and what you need it to do.
Perfect. Okay. Sure. So moving on to the next query, I think it's from Aditya. Aditya, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your query, please.
Hey, thanks. Hey, Max. So I have a mobile app on React Native, built on React Native. So my query is that I have a few features that I want to test out, which I don't want to invest a lot of time in like building on React Native. So is there a way that I can, over my React Native, I can build it on, I can build features of no code on it using Glide or Bubble?
So you want to add features to your existing app built on React Native, or do you want to essentially test those features as a separate kind of standalone app that then
I want to add it on that existing application because the users are already on that app, so I want to test it with them, but I can only test it with them on the existing application.
Got you. I haven't seen that done in no code before. That doesn't mean you can't do it. Just trying to think. Yeah, it's normally the other way around. So people normally build something on no code and then they add code to it if they've hit a wall. But someone in the room here may know of a use case like that and be able to answer your question more than me. But I haven't seen that done. Let me have a think on that, and I'll while we're finishing up this session, and I'll get back to you.
Sure, thanks.
Hey, I'm Srichand. So you could do that. It depends on how you face how your data interacts between the native app that you've built and the new features that you're using. If you're able to if both of these are separated, then you can build features. You can use Airtable or you can use one of these databases to power it. Or if you're using the same database, you'll have to use Zapier, or you'll have to use a database that a no-code interface can interact with. And you'll have to expose APIs from your native app, and you should be able to do that.
Got it. So like using like so for instance, I have an Android app built on React Native. So using Bubble, I can create a feature. For instance, right now I want to test a feature called subscription. I don't want to create a subscription management system. I want to test it out if people are ready to pay for the subscription or not. So if I put it on the app, I can put a subscription over layer on my application, existing application using Bubble.
Yeah, I'll pass that over to Srihan. I've not seen that before.
So Max showed one of these subscription no-code add-ons. You could use that. Or if you're using on top of it, you can authenticate a user once they've signed on. That layer could be built on Bubble, and on your React Native, you can authenticate whether this person is in your database, and then you can show a subscribe interface. Yeah, so that's possible because the content itself is not heavily linked between both of them.
I would also add to that as well. In the future, if you want to kind of build bottom up, so with no code, but then essentially extract the source code from that no code project, you can do that with a couple of tools at the moment. So there's a mobile app builder called DraftBit, and you can take all the source code from that no code build. I know that's not very helpful for you now, but in future, if you want to be able to kind of do that more easily, that's something to think about.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Quickly moving on to our last query, I think by Arvind Raj. Arvind, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your query.
Yeah, thanks for letting me ask the question. Hi, Max. Hope you're doing good. I just want to know, is there any free tool to begin with the no code? I see a lot of tools in no code which is chargeable, so I just want to is there any free tool I can start with?
Sure. Yeah, good question. Yeah, you can. To be honest, most no-code tools have a free tier. Obviously, they come with limits, but I would actually, like with Bubble, with Softer, with all the tools that I mentioned, they all come with a free tier. So I wouldn't let that kind of hold you back. I mean, some free tiers are more generous than others. So for example, with Softer, you can actually publish your websites with a custom domain included, and that is on the free tier. So Softer is a good one to start with. They're generous with their free tier. So yeah, that's probably what I'd start with, but actually don't limit yourself with that, because yeah, most have free tiers anyway.
Thanks.
I think one more query we can see popping up from Srichand. Yeah, I think he wants to know the Chrome extension on the side of your browser, Max.
Yeah, no,
It's looks like mixed panel. I'm not sure it has an M.
yeah, no, of course. So that is called, I can drop the link to the site. It's a Chrome extension called Motion. So not Notion, Motion with an M. And it's a productivity kind of Chrome extension that allows you to kind of do more deep work and optimizes any calendar bookings you have to prioritize like longer stretches of time which you're free, and then bundles together calendar bookings and meetings into different places of your day. So it's good. I definitely recommend if you're kind of looking for something like that. Let me drop the link in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. So I think we have, so as mentioned, Max, just to let you know, and everybody who is there in the call still, we have made our creators of products website on no code platform, and we would like to just I think take just 3 to 4 minutes and showcase it to you. We have Shiv with us, who's one of the volunteer creators of products. And Shiv, if you would like to share your screen and then just take a quick feedback from Max on how we are doing it over there.
Thanks, Chandru. Hey Max, it was great listening to you. So let me just share my screen.
Yeah, excited. Yeah, should be cool.
Okay, can you see my screen?
It says has started screen sharing. Double click to enter full screen mode. Could not see anything on the screen.
Oh,
I think it's coming up, or I'm not sure.
Oh, is it?
Or you have to share your full screen, maybe the entire desktop.
Right. Okay, I am sharing my entire screen. How about now?
It's still coming up with the same message. That's weird. Yeah, because it's started screen sharing, but nothing else. It's weird.
Okay.
Can you reshare it again, Shiv?
Right. Will do.
It's all good. Yeah, on every call there has to be a prerequisite screen sharing problem. I was nervous that my screen wouldn't share, so it's all good.
Okay, I am sharing, but looks like there's a bit of a problem. Chandru, I'll be sending this link to you.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
1 minute. I'll do that. First, I have to load it. Yeah, just 1 minute. I'll be sharing my screen. Perfect. Please let me know if it can be seen.
Yes.
Oh yes, perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
finally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Shiv, please.
Yeah. So a little bit about the decisions we made as to what platform we chose, Max. So initially, when we got the idea of making this website, we went with either Bubble, Webflow, and then there was this new platform that was coming up. I think that was Editor X. I forgot what it was. So yeah, we tried to weigh the pros and cons of which would be having the least learning curve for us. with which we could achieve, the most quickest way of rolling out this website, and that's how we landed on Webflow. So that's a bit about why we chose this particular platform over others. So would love to hear what your thoughts are on this. And yeah, maybe now we can just scroll through the homepage and you could let us know how it looks, or some things that you thought could be better.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think the choice of tool is really great. I think it's tough building landing pages in Bubble. So, and yeah, you're right. Kind of Webflow gives you so much more. I really like the illustrations. I think they bring the site to life more and kind of give it more personality. And the kind of subtle like hints of color, but not too much color, so it's overwhelming. And yeah, this looks really awesome. I thought on the heading at the right at the top, maybe the text, the dynamic text that is moving could be in a different color potentially. Maybe, just thinking. I mean, it looks good, but just to bring that out even more, I think it could be cool to see what another color would look like. But it looks good already, so that's just a thought maybe. But yeah, great job, guys. This is awesome.
Thank you so much, Max. It's great to hear that from you. And yeah, the other volunteer, I mean, Vamshi, he is the one that worked on the hero illustration. So shout out to him. He's not in this call.
Yeah, that's epic. Really cool. And I like the floating. I think if you scroll down a bit, you've got this bit. Yeah, this is really cool. This kind of floating effect you've got going on here. This is awesome. Yeah, love it.
Thank you so much, Max.
So when's it going live? Is it already live or?
No, we are planning on the go live, but we thought, hey, Max is here, let us give him a sneak peek.
Yeah, and then happy after the call to kind of look at it in more depth and just send over a little Loom video with any other thoughts I've got. But it looked brilliant already, so I'm sure you're ready to go live soon.
Thanks, Max. I think either me or Chandra will reach out to you with the link to the website currently, and you can help us out with the Loom video.
Awesome.
Thank you. Over to you, Chandra.
Yeah, I think we are at the top of the hour. Again, Max, amazing session. Thank you so much for taking out your time, and it was wonderful hearing you. Yeah, I think have a good day ahead. It was great having you here.
No, thanks so much for having me. Absolutely privileged to be here, and yeah, have a great weekend, guys, and see you all on Twitter or somewhere else. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.